Today, we're talking about a Rumpelstiltskin retelling and a haunted Victorian mansion. Yeah, let's get into it.
This is the beginning of the end.
No, totally just kidding. So, welcome to today's episode. We are talking about Rumpelstiltskin retelling Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik and a amazing setting of a novel of inheritance by Nora Roberts. Now, Nora Roberts isn't someone that I thought I would ever really review on this channel, but when she chooses to do a ghost story, like, man alive, it's awesome. Before we get into that, however, if I could have you, my amazing, wonderful audience, hit the like button and the subscribe button to this channel so you don't miss any of the videos that I publish. I create bookish content for people who love paranormal romance and fantasy, but don't necessarily love the smut. So if that's you, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and let's be friends. Okay, so Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So this is my little shout out to please patron your local library because you can save money and be a part of the community and whatnot. But so I got Spinning Silver from the library, and I also listened to the audiobook, which is an interesting experience to be listening to the audiobook and then reading the book at the same time. So I was switching back and forth and having to like find my place and whatnot. That was different. But I absolutely loved Spinning Silver. 100% perfect fairy tale retelling, and best part of all, there are no need for skip scenes. What? It is a totally clean fiction. It is a totally clean fantasy, and you will absolutely love it. So let's get into what the story is about, and then I'll give my larger review. This is a spoil-free review, so you don't need to worry. You don't need to click off the video while we discuss this. So buckle in and let's talk about Spinning Silver. The book follows a young woman named Miriam, who is the daughter of a moneylender. However, he is a really bad moneylender. He and his family are totally poor, while other people that they lent money to aren't paying them back and aren't giving them what they need to actually survive. So their daughter, Miriam, who is fed up with how this is all happening, decides to go do the collections herself, and she ends up being really, really good at it. She has a mind for business and a mind for making money, which is absolutely incredible. So she takes over her father's business, and her father kind of steps back and lets her do what she's doing because she's making money. She's being able to get the collections that they need and is, doing a good job of being a steward over the business and the finances. So even though it brings him kind of some shame and he feels badly that his daughter is doing this, she is taking on that spot. Now, at the same time, we're reading a story about a girl named Wanda who is also in that same town, but her father is a drunk and abusive. And we're watching the story through her lens as well. She ends up being exchanged instead of payment for her services for Miriam's family. And so she gets kind of wrapped up in the family and Miriam and her collection. So she starts doing collecting for Miriam, and her life totally changes, as does the life of her two little brothers, who she is also trying to kind of take care of in a way. It's a very complicated situation, that family life. At the same time, we have the daughter of the local duke who is being presented, I guess, to different men because her father is trying to basically sell her off, and the czar is coming to the house, and so he's trying to kind of create this presentation of his daughter to the Tsar in hopes that she will get married to him. So we've got these three different women, and the way that their stories all interconnect is really fascinating. So where things really start to pick up in this book is when Miriam makes a boast in the forest about how she can turn silver into gold. And there are these creatures called the Starik, which are essentially like ice fae, and they have their own realm, but during the winter they can cross into our realm. So you have to be careful. You don't go too far into the forest because they can get you. There's the Starik Road, which is the king's road for the Starik king that they can see every once in a while. So that's kind of this mysterious group of people. And she makes this boast in the middle of the forest. Well, a couple of days later, she makes the boast again. Wait, no. Her father makes the boast that his daughter truly can turn silver into gold. And guess who was listening? The Starik. Now this, I'm not giving anything, I'm not spoiling anything. This is a thick book. Like, this is a hefty book. This is not a small thing. This is in the very beginning of the book, what I'm describing to you. This is like the inciting incident. So she ends up having to turn silver into gold for the Starik. And that is when the story really begins to pick up. We learn that the Tsar has a demon trapped inside of him who is made of pure fire. And through a very interesting series of events, all of these stories end up coalescing with each other. But the Rumpelstiltskin aspect of it was very, very interesting. The way that Naomi Novik created this world was so close to ours and so human was really fascinating, including prejudices and stereotypes that we have in our current society surrounding Jewish people. So Miriam and her family are all Jews, and she talks about the prejudice against Jewish people throughout the book. It's not like a major plot point, but I thought it was very fascinating that she decided to make the main character and her family Jewish. It was a fascinating story and had a lot of different elements to it that I thought were very, very good puzzle pieces put together. The writing has this laid back way of presenting all of the information while at the same time creating scenarios that by the end of the scene, you're like, oh my gosh, wait. I know what that is. Maybe that's just me that gets that way. But there were a couple of points in this book that I was like, no, really? 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved this book when it came to characterization and pacing. I thought it did a really, really good job. The plot itself, once you really get into it, is fairly simple. But the way that Naomi writes it is so interesting, and I really, really enjoyed it. So the main character is, I think, 16 or 17 years old. Most people would classify this a young adult just because of how old the character is, Miriam. But I personally think the writing style and the things that they're dealing with are more adult. I believe it's, at least in my library, it's housed in adult fiction. So I think you'd probably be able to find it there, but I absolutely love this book. This is the second Naomi Novik book that I have read, and the first one, A Deadly Education, I actually DNF'd because I could not get into the story. I felt like the writing was really jarring for me. But now that I've read one book to its entirety, Spinning Silver, I think I will be able to read A Dangerous Education because I've gotten used to her writing style a little bit better. So I'm really excited about that. But this is Naomi Novik, Spinning Silver. Fantastic book. If you like fairy tale retellings and you're very interested in the interweaving of multiple stories that don't seem to connect to each other, very good. Absolutely wonderful. There's a teeny tiny itty bitty baby hint of a romance that happens at the very, very, very end. So if you are not somebody who likes romance in their fantasy, this is probably going to be a good book for you. And you will really, really enjoy it. If you want to get it, there is a link below in the description and you can get it from Amazon through my link. which would be great. All right, the next book, I don't have a physical copy of this book because I listened to it. This book is Inheritance by Nora Roberts, and it is the first of a trilogy of books that is all centered around a Victorian mansion in the Upper East Coast. Now, this book itself, the story and the plot itself is like, the romance, which Nora Roberts is very famous for, is kind of meh. Like, I didn't really care about the romance at all. However, the setting of a Victorian mansion that is haunted absolutely captured me. When she finally gets to the mansion in the first couple of chapters of the book, it is so like my heart was all Twitter pated in a flutter because I actually live in a Victorian home that was built in 1893, and like you can kind of see I've got the easements and I've got the awesome door and stuff like that. But I absolutely love that style of home. And so having that be the setting for this book was just like, I wanted to live in this place. I wanted to explore the halls and go through the servants' quarters and go into the parlor and the formal sitting room and the formal dining room. Like, oh my gosh, I was so in love with it. And because my house is blue, well, it's not blue, but it was blue. Anyway, for some reason, I pictured this house as a deep, rich blue. And I don't know if that's actually the way it was described, but in my head, it was a massive house and it was deep blue and it was gorgeous. And I like, oh, I wanted to crawl in and just live in this place. So I was in love with the setting straight off. So I was going to finish the book no matter what because the setting was so incredible. And the haunting of this house is very fascinating because it's all tied to a curse. So a daughter of this specific family, the Poole family, dies. One daughter dies on the day of their wedding every generation based off of a curse that a witch put on the family in the 1800s. So there are 7 brides who have been killed, and the main character, Sonia, is the only daughter of the Poole family for this generation. So if she gets married, she's most likely going to die. So this starts the mystery of like who is the one that's who put this curse on the women? How is she killing all of them through this curse? Because they all are killed in different ways. So it's not just like one blanket situation. They all get killed in different ways. And you get to know their stories through the main character because she has these visions of what's happening. So I'm not going to give away anything else in the book. All of that was on the back end of the book. So, or on the, what's it called? The synopsis of the book. So I'm not giving anything away. There's no spoilers in that. There's a lot more that happens, but it is a really good, well thought out haunting. Now, characterization and the actual characters of the book, I kind of okay. The main characters, Sonia and Trey, are supposed to be having this relationship, but there's nothing really about it that I felt was really pulling. Like, it was pretty obvious that they were going to end up together and that he was interested in her and she was interested in him. Nora definitely wanted the book to be more focused on the haunting and the mystery of the haunting than the relationship, which I thought was like, okay, but she's famous for romance. So why? There is a spicy scene in chapter 19. The entire chapter is basically just the culmination of their relationship being solidified and them being together. So if you want to skip that chapter, you can just skip it and you won't have missed anything really. But the setting and the curse are fascinating. The characters are kind of meh, but everything else about it, I really, really enjoyed. It made me want to go to Maine and to, go to a small little port village and hang out there for a little while in a beautiful Victorian mansion that's haunted because my house is not haunted. I mean, I guess that's a thankfully because I have 3 little boys who would probably absolutely lose their minds if our house was haunted, but So overall for Inheritance by Nora Roberts, I gave it a 3, but the setting I gave a 5. The setting is absolutely incredible, and I love the haunting aspect of this story. So if you like ghosts and you like Victorian mansions, you will absolutely love this book. It's a pretty easy read. I listened to it on double time and I was able to finish it really quick. It's not a difficult thing to get through. So if you were looking for a cute, sweet, slightly spooky paranormal romance, that is one to look up. Now, the next book does not, I believe, come out until this next summer. This book, Inheritance, just came out in November of this last year. So we're looking at sometime this summer for the next book to come out. So be on the lookout for that if you are interested in that. But thank you so much for joining me today. So if you have any book recommendations of books that you think that I should read that are paranormal romance or fantasy based, please drop that in the comments below and let me know if you have read Inheritance or Spinning Silver. Did you like them? Do we agree or do we not? Did you absolutely hate it? I want to know because that's why I do what I do, to chat about books. So please remember, you are worthy, you are loved, and as always, happy reading.